Meditate and Mingle is not just a convenient play on my name. It's my personal oxymoron, my yin-yang, and my Libra scales. It's the balancing act that exists within me. Meditate describes the side of me that is intuitive, spiritually grounded, and individualized. While the mingle is my social butterfly. I'm people-oriented and I have a talkative side. Bringing them together allows me to reach out to you. So join the mental mingle and meditate on a few thoughts with yours truly, Dr. Melissa Tate. Thank you for tuning in to the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte. Happy Sunday to my minglers. Thank you for tuning in to Meditate and Mingle. This is Ms. Meditate and Mingle, aka Dr. Melissa Tate. So for the month of November and December, with it being holiday season, I've been talking with you all about having an attitude of gratitude. Without a doubt, we are in the selfie era. In any given period of time, you go on social media, you can go on Facebook, you can go on Instagram, you could go on Twitter, you could go on Vine. We're always recording ourselves. We're always looking at ourselves. We're always trying to take the perfect picture. The Huffington Post recently reported on this selfie addiction, linking this self-absorbed, sense of self with self-esteem issues, with being perfectionistic, with having a personal judgment of yourself, this overall preoccupation of thoughts about yourself. So my question was, if this is the case, if there's this overwhelming focus on self, are we also in an era where we're falling short of having an attitude of gratitude? In the month of November, I had several guests on. Keith O'Neill, retired NFL linebacker. I had Katrina Farr, author of Confessions of an Abandoned Child. I had Raina DeBose, a mental health advocate, vaccine health advocate after being stricken with bacterial meningitis. And I chose those guests specifically because they have this attitude of appreciation. After, experiencing some adverse situations, they were able to reorchestrate their lives and still continue to exude gratefulness and thankfulness and sincerity in their interactions with others. So that prompted me to initiate a challenge. Back in mid-November, I wrote this article about, finding gratitude in the selfie era. You can actually find that on my website, on my blog, www.drmetate.com, drmetate.com, under my Meditate and Mingle blog. I post every month on the blog, but last month I wrote about finding gratitude in the selfie era. So that initiated this challenge where I was thinking, if we're so self-absorbed and we're so focused on the external self, do we really take the time to look at our internal self? I do this all day long. In counseling, I find myself that I'm always, self-reflecting. Even throughout my life, I always felt that I was reflecting and just trying to recognize the little things in life. So I prompted this challenge. I sent it out to my minglers in different areas of social media. And so what I did was I wrote about this story. After a long day, my teenage daughter and I went to Chick-fil-A for that extra delicious chicken sandwich, sweet tea and lemonade. It's so daggone good. We had been out and about all day. I was taking pictures that day with a good friend of mine, Aaron Atkinson of Profound House Productions, photography, and we were doing a photo shoot in Uptown Charlotte for most of the day. So I was tired after walking around all day. The sun had just gone down. It was starting to get chilly. So it had been a long day. I really just wanted to go into Chick-fil-A, grab my food, and go ahead home and just kind of settle in for the night. I contemplated going through the drive-thru, but changed my mind because I just was so hungry and really just wanted to sit down and eat. So we go in, we sit down, we eat, and we sat next to this very sweet 89-year-old man. He had just lost his wife of 65 years. He prompted a conversation or elicited a conversation with my daughter and I after seeing us say grace together. And he said, you don't always see families to sit and stop to take the time to bless their food. And so he was enthralled to speak to us. We proceeded to talk to this man for about 45 minutes to an hour. So throughout our meal, after we finished eating, we continued to talk with him. He shared stories with us about his life. He talked about his wife. He was almost in tears talking about his wife and showed us pictures of her from the day they met and talked about their life together until she passed away. He reported that he spends a lot of time alone in his house, in the house that he shared with his wife, and he finds himself in tears at all the memories of her everywhere he looks. He took the time to just say thank you for listening to him, because he finds like he's always alone and doesn't necessarily always have someone to listen to. He showed us pictures. He shared his wisdom. We exchanged business cards, and I just. In that moment, my daughter and I left Chick-fil-A after about 45 minutes to an hour and just thought it was the sweetest. We found so much contentment in that interaction, and I was grateful to have received his wisdom. It was definitely time well spent. So I took that story, I posted it on social media, and it kind of took off from there. So I'm going to take a break. I initiated this challenge out on social media, and I've gotten several responses so far, and I'm hoping to get a lot more. I'm going to share a few stories with you. I actually have some people calling in to share their stories as well, and I'm hoping you'll go to my website again, www.drmetate.com, drmetate.com, and when we come back after the break, we will hear some more snappy selfie snapshot challenge stories. We'll be right back in a moment.
A Better World is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that reaches out to children and their families in the Ashley Park community and surrounding areas. We offer after-school care, classes, and training, which will assist youth K through 12 in many areas of their lives.
Welcome back to WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte, and those tuning in on the TuneIn Radio app. I appreciate you coming back to the Meditate&Mingle show. I am Dr. Melissa Tate, Ms. Meditate&Mingle. So before the break, we were talking about this selfie snapshot challenge that I elicited on my social media. So on my Facebook page at Ms. Meditate&Mingle, and through my Twitter at Dr. Metate, DRMETATE. You can also find it on my website at drmetate.com. So the challenge is essentially, we spend a lot of time taking these selfies and doing all these things to reflect upon our external self, always keeping ourselves together. But do we actually take the time to do some things, witness or even recognize that there's an internal sense of self that we also need to fuel? We need to fuel that tank for who we are. So I sent this challenge out to a few of my friends, and it kind of took off from there. One submission from my friend Cathy in Baltimore, Maryland. Her submission was similar to mine. She was challenged a couple of weeks ago by me. She said, I don't like taking selfies, so I refuse to do the external selfie, but I think I accomplished the internal part of my challenge. Work had been very busy for her. I spent one of my evenings talking to my older neighbor and helping him rake his leaves. It was the last thing I really wanted to do after a hectic day, but I know my neighbor appreciated the help and conversation. And so, it's one of those things where you get caught up in the hustle and bustle of your day. You really don't want to take the extra time to do something that sounds exhausting or annoying or frustrating, but sometimes when you take the extra time, it really is, kind of extending an olive branch out to someone else. It's giving them, some help, some appreciation, and they definitely appreciate your sincerity. So thank you, Cathy, for completing the challenge over at Oakland Mills High School. She's a math teacher at Oakland Mills High School, so I appreciate that. I got a couple of submissions as well. My friend Leah also did a submission. She is a professor at the University of Louisville. she submitted her sound bite. So we're going to hear from Leah directly.
Hello. I was challenged by Melissa Aaron to share my external and internal selfie in her Selfie Snapshot Challenge. It has taken me a long time to figure out what to share. The reason this is a challenge is because we all exist in life as, quote, external selfies, and this is not reality. In fact, it leads to truly negative views of ourselves because we think everyone else is showing us their internal self, when in fact they are showing us their best, quote, external self. This extends way beyond that of the internet, Facebook, and cell phones. In my own experience as a mother, scientist, professor, the external self that we view of others can be toxic. For example, we see that mother with her 2 children somewhere in public that are perfectly dressed and well-behaved when our own children are behaving like monsters. Our first thought is that they have their shit together, whereas our own life is a nightmare and our parenting skills are lacking. However, in reality, that woman is having a good day, and she has plenty of hectic, monster-filled behavior days like the ones that we have, but we just never see them. The toxic, quote, external selfie truly plays a role in my professional life. Many women in science are excellent at masking their nightmare hectic-filled lives and show up at work looking perfectly put together and behave in a brilliant, coordinated manner. Meanwhile, they probably start their mornings just as the rest of us, with a kid in tears over some clothing issue, and the other kid changing their clothes 3 times because they got their yogurt on their outfit more than once in a 5-minute period of time. Meanwhile, that individual is, 1, running late for work, 2, surviving on 3 hours of sleep for the 5th night in a row because they are working on a grant paper or lecture, and 3, their patience with their kids is more than gone. Once they show up at work, they have their game face on. This is talent and is required for one to be a professional, but in my opinion can be bad because there's some other struggling young mother that thinks they are the only person that finds working full-time and being a mother slightly difficult. This, my friends, is how I sometimes justify wearing my hectic life on my sleeve for others to see on rare occasions. As a postdoc in Charleston, South Carolina, I got the opportunity to hear my mother and my postdoc mentor commiserating about how difficult medicine and science and motherhood are. I was in tears because here were 2 women I so admired admitting that it was exhausting for them. It was a moment that I realized that I could do this because it was hard for others too. This week, I had the opportunity to help a student in the same way. I let her in on a secret that my life, like hers, was sometimes a nightmare. I, too, was sleep-deprived, that there was laundry unfolded, dishes in the sink, kids that needed help on the homework, like hers did, and that I was truly the norm for me. I told her that it was hard for me, too. The relief I saw on her face was that same relief that I had all those years ago. It was a moment when I realized that the, quote, external selfie is toxic at times to others and to ourselves. And that realization felt good. Showing someone your internal self at a key moment may just be the encouragement that they desperately need to keep on going.
So thanks, Leah, out in Louisville, Kentucky, for sharing your story with us. Again, just recognizing that the external self is such a major focus of everybody's day, trying to hold it together, trying to make sure that all your ducks are in a row, trying to get to work and make sure that you look a certain way and present yourself a certain way, and never mind that morning your kids got on your nerves, or you forgot to take out the trash, or that you forgot to pack your kids' lunch and you had to run across town, and it just threw a monkey wrench in your day. And so she felt the need to extend herself to a student that came into her office that just felt like she was failing at life, failing at her day, failing at what she was trying to do. And Leah took that moment to impart knowledge upon her and give her the license to know that you don't always have to have it together, and you won't always have to have it together. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to feel like you're behind. Sometimes you're going to mess up, but it's all good in the end. So, again, thanks, Leah, for making that submission. The next submission came from my friend Mona. It is an exhaustive story, so beautifully written. about a situation she was faced when her car broke down in the middle of this parking lot. So her story just blew my mind. And at the end of it, I said, "Are you going to be a blogger at some point?" So turns out she will have her own blog coming out soon. And as soon as I get that information, I will certainly share it with you. Mona is a beautiful spirit. I've known her for a long time, and she hasn't changed a bit. She describes herself as an always on the go multitasker who may be smiling 95% of the time. But in that process, she recognized that she could really use a moment or two to meditate and just breathe. She recognizes that life has a series of ups and downs, and it amazes her at no end how she's mastered the ability to kind of compartmentalize her emotions each day. But she recognizes that at the end of the day, we are all connected. And she proceeds to tell this story, wrote this story for me about a disaster that she had that allowed her to take a moment. So here it goes. I'm going to attempt to do this with some dramatic flair. So Mona writes, "On my way to leave, I discovered that the car battery died and I don't have jumper cables. I call my incredibly amazing friends who are about to drop ship and come in a heartbeat, but I told them I'll first see anyone on location has cables at hand. I walk back into Starbucks to the awesome barista who empathetically asked her equally awesome manager and coworkers, but no one had cables. I continue back to Powell's and asked smiling, calm, and resourceful book lover at the information desk who dialed everybody he could think of, including parking police, his friends, coworkers, but no luck. I was truly thankful for his efforts because at that point he could have just stopped and said, 'Sorry, chick, you're out of luck.' But instead, he thinks for a determined moment and decides to pick up the intercom for the entire store to hear, requesting a good Samaritan to help. Within a minute, I see smart urban Portland woman of the year with her fierce, angle-cut red hair and sleek eyeglasses walk up to the front, offering her help. We agree to meet outside where I'm parked, and within minutes, she pulls up with her tall and very tattooed and pierced boyfriend ready to help. Only one problem. They are 2 parking spaces away from me on either side of my car, and we needed to figure out how to get her car next to mine. We decided to put my car on neutral and push it out. So now, desperate housewife with scarf, which is Mona, in driver's seat, while the car is being pushed. I've never done anything like that before. We're making progress, but we're slow, and we're now causing parking lot traffic jam. Moments later, out of nowhere, older businessman in 3-piece suit comes out of his high-end car offering help with the steering. I'm beyond thankful to oblige and make my way next to the Good Samaritan's car while ushering traffic. Over on the sidewalk comes on a mission power walking, phone talking, cute handbag lady who sees what's going on and decidedly hangs up her conversation to join me on the street to help control traffic. This story goes on beyond this. So all of these passerbys, all of these people walking through, and Mona uses such a colorful way to describe who these people are. And the story continues from there, and I really want to share the end of it with you. We're going to take a little break. When you come back, we're going to hear the rest of Mona's story and talk some more about this selfie snapshots challenge that I initiated on Facebook and social media. Again, you can find that on my website at www.drmetate.com, or you can go on to Facebook at. Welcome back after the break. You are tuning in to WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte. Prior to the break, I've been talking about this selfie snapshot challenge that I initiated on Facebook and Twitter and my different social media accounts. I was reading a story from my friend Mona, who accepted the challenge and went above and beyond belief, sharing her story about how her car broke down outside of Starbucks. So long story short, there's a couple passerbys that have helped her push her car out of the parking space. There was a whole effort to try to get jumper cables for her. And I took a break right at the end of getting her car out the parking space. So I'll continue with, there were lots of drivers passing slowly by just to see what's up. The tally of the scene: 2 ladies on either side of the street ushering traffic, 2 pushing my SUV through a corridor of a parking lot traffic towards the other car with jumper cables, while a man was steering, The onlookers were undeniably the most random set of people bound together, calling to witness the beauty of our human spirit that speaks volumes beyond our exterior surface to the soul. With each moment passing, I was filled with awe, trying to process the moment. Simply, it was a mosaic that we were all weaving the principles that are intrinsic in all of us, at the core of our human spirit. Everything felt perfectly synchronized, yet none of it consciously planned. Within minutes, my car was aligned with the jumper cables, and boom, the incredible symphony that just played, its graceful song was complete, and my internal battery got charged. So Mona was ever so grateful. She goes on to talking about how her inner voice was singing Kumbaya, my Lord, in an opera tenor. It's a beautiful story. I encourage you to go on my website again, my Facebook website, Ms. Meditate and Mingle, and you will see a snapshot of her story. I'm hoping her blog comes out soon because she's a beautiful writer, and I heavily encourage her to continue sharing that gift. One of the last submissions that I'm going to share with you all today was from a friend of mine, Portia. We went to West Virginia University together. Shout out to the Mountaineers. And Portia shares a story about how she ran into two people throughout the week that allowed her to reflect a little differently on things. So let's listen in for Portia.
A few weeks ago, I was challenged to participate in the Selfie Snapshot Challenge by my good friend, Dr. Melissa Tate. The following week, I met two incredible people. Ironically, they were both cancer survivors. The first young lady I met, her name is Becky, and I quickly discovered she was also a Mecklenburg County employee. She shared with me that she had just gone back to work after being out for 20 weeks battling cancer. I would have never known because her spirit was so positive and full of life. I emailed her the next day and told her she was such a bright light in spite of all she had recently been through, and I was so happy to have met her. She replied she had a rough week and my email was needed way more than I could have imagined. She told me Michaela and I were also warm, loving spirits. She agreed that God sends people into your life at the right moment, and we decided we would have lunch very soon. The second young lady I met is actually a frequent customer into my office. She's an administrative assistant for a local general contractor. She came into the office, but we couldn't quite fulfill her request, so I decided to sit down with her at one of the public computers to show her some tricks of the trade so she could cut down on all the trips she was making into the office. She was very grateful. Lynn began to share with me that she was a temporary hire, and the person she was working for wasn't always very pleasant and often disrespectful. She went on to tell me she's from South Jersey and came to Charlotte looking for work and to take care of her father, who suffers from PTSD. Since coming to Charlotte, she's worked hard to gain stable employment so she can bring her 16-year-old daughter here to live. Her life seems to be in such turmoil, but it was clear she had a relationship with God. She realized God was the only reason she survived 3 bouts with cancer, colorectal and ovarian. I immediately took the opportunity to invite her to my church. I know that just one visit would give her what she needs to keep pushing forward. I'm so glad that Melissa invited me for this challenge. I meet people quite frequently and strike up these conversations, but not until the challenge did I internalize everything that happened those days.
Thank you, Portia, for sharing your story. I totally appreciate all of the efforts that, some of my friends and people I didn't know that participated in the challenge. And some people saw the challenge and said, hey, I want to participate too. So by all means, you are more than welcome to participate in the Selfie Snapshot Challenge. For the rules and an explanation, you can go on my website, on my blog, drmetate.com, just to get some more information, or you can find it on Facebook or on Twitter, or ask your friend, whoever challenged you. And by all means, you can send a copy or a sound bite of your story to me at MediTate&Mingle, all 3 words, meditateandmingle.wgiv@gmail.com. The last story that I'll share with you is from my friend Derek. We went to University of Maryland, Baltimore County together. He says he doesn't like taking selfies or doesn't like taking pictures, but he finds himself doing so more now that he has a son. But his internal reflection was about how, as a salesman, he's a very tall guy, and a lot of his clients are children. So at 6'2", he finds himself towering over these kids who are often intimidated by him. So whenever selling a bike to a parent with a small child, he always gets down on the floor to be at the kid's level, understanding that it's a little scary as a little kid to look up to him at 6'2". Most of all, he wants the children to feel like they are buying a bike, and it's important to them, for them, just as much as it's important for mom and dad. His co-workers tease him a little bit because, of course, he's getting up in age, as all of us are, and making more noises as he grunts and groans as he's standing up. But he finds that it's all worth it, so that people know that their purchase is important and that they have a voice. So again, I'm eliciting this selfie snapshot challenge to you. You have a voice. I'm encouraging you to not only focus on your external self and keeping it all together, but to just take a moment to reflect on the little things that might be happening in your life, a moment to witness some goodness amongst other people you may or may not know. To take a moment to just ask somebody how they're doing, to take a moment to just breathe and sit still and reflect on your day, what was good about your day, what you could do better tomorrow. At the end of it all, I'm hoping that people will not be so hurried to get to where they're going, and that they take a moment to reflect. And I think that comes back in the expression of gratitude that I'm hoping we can continue to pay forward in our interactions with others. I am wrapping up for the day. I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday afternoon. This is Meditate and Mingle. I am your host, Dr. Melissa Tate, Ms. Meditate and Mingle. Have a wonderful afternoon. WGIV family, I want to thank you for joining yours truly, Ms. Meditate and Mingle today. I hope that you found something worthy in our conversation to meditate upon or mingle about. Please come back and join me each and every Sunday afternoon at 12 p.m. And in the meantime, if you find something pressing you down, wearing you out, or keeping you shut in, just hold your head high and make sure you don't give up. I'm Ms. Meditate and Mingle. Be blessed.